And what is up, guys? We are back with our first Inland Sports Show of 2026. I'm your host, Pep Fernandez. Man, we're going to roar into the new year with a huge show right out of the gates. In just a moment, we're going to hear from Luis Robles. He is the head coach for Paloma Valley Wrestling, fresh off a Riverside County championship for the very first time in program history. A little bit later, we're going to check in with Kevin Watson, the head Arlington boys soccer coach. The Lions set for another big season. They've been in the Open Division playoffs the last 2 years, and that's the goal again. That is the standard at A-Town, at Arlington. So we'll check in with Coach Watson. And also, listen, we're talking high school football all year around. We've got a couple high school coaches lined up, high school football coaches, I should say, lined up in the next couple of weeks. Tonight, we are going to hear from Johnathan Coutee, the new head coach at Murrieta Mesa, taking over for Oscar McBride, which he calls like his twin. They were very close. He takes over for Coach McBride, and Murrieta Mesa's in a very good spot. They are going up to the Big West Upper, so they're going to play Centennial, Murrieta Valley, Norco, you get it. Some really good teams, but they are in a very good spot. A couple league championships, of course, a CIF championship in 2024. So we'll talk with Coach Coutee as well. And we'll mix in some high school basketball and some high school soccer as well throughout the show. But first, we are going to start on the wrestling mat, and that's where our Bass Athletics Play of the Week takes us. Check this out. Inland Sports. The Riverside County Championships at Arlington High School, a very prestigious tournament, and at 132 pounds, that is Paloma Valley's Anthony Saldana. He won a Riverside County Championship last year. Well, Anthony goes back-to-back. Last year, he won it at 138. This year, he is your 132-pound champion, Riverside County champion for the Paloma Valley Wildcats, helping the Wildcats win their first ever Riverside County title. They scored 300 team points. It was a dominant effort by Paloma Valley across the board for the boys. So congratulations to Anthony Saldana, a Riverside County champion, going back-to-back. That is our Bass Athletics Play of the Week. And Anthony was a big part why Paloma Valley as a team was able to win a Riverside County title. We had a chance to catch in with head coach Luis Robles of the Wildcats. The coach has done the show multiple times here on the Inland Sports Show. We had a chance to talk about Anthony and this kind of season that he is having right now for Paloma Valley, but he's got a really good squad. And there's some good teams in the IE. I mean, there's some good teams just in the Ivy League. The Ivy League is very tough for boys wrestling. So here is Coach Robles here on the Inland Sports Show. Inland Sports. And now join us here on the Inland Sports Show, the head coach of the Paloma Valley wrestling team, Luis Robles, coming off a Riverside County championship. And Coach, I mean, there's a lot of good programs, a lot of good wrestlers out in Riverside County. What did it mean to you to bring home the Riverside County championship?
Biggest thing is nostalgia. We've never won it. It was our first title for Paloma Valley, but the tournament's really cool. I wrestled in the tournament when I was in high school at Paris High School. My high school, I had two different high school coaches. They both wrestled in it. Raul Huerta, Mario Moreno. They wrestled at Canyon Springs at Norte Vista at that tournament. And then my co-head coach, Marshall Palmer, also wrestled in that tournament when he was in high school for Paloma Valley. So, it's a really cool feeling. We just returned to the tournament after 12 years of not going, and you just see a lot of people that, especially me, I've been in Riverside County the whole time. So you see people like, you see former county champs goes back to, like late 80s and 90s, and, people that go to the tournament and talk about the tournament. And, these referees, some of them, one of them actually retired. One of the Shapiro brothers retired at the tournament. This is going to be his last one he's doing. And it's just really cool and nostalgia being in that building and seeing all these, veterans, and, some of them are my mentors and stuff. So, it's a cool feeling winning a tournament that has a lot of prestige and a lot of history behind it.
Yeah, it sounds like it was almost kind of a reunion, like you know what I mean? Like going and seeing all these familiar faces, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like to me, at least, and especially when I haven't won for so long. So it's, stopped going to the reunion and then finally returned. And it's like, oh, hey, some of these people I see at other events, but there are a group of people that I saw that I haven't seen in pretty much the 12 years that I stopped going.
Now, I know you did have an individual champion at 132 pounds, and we'll talk about Anthony in just a moment. But when you looked at your squad across the board, what really stood out to you about the tournament?
Honestly, it was just toughness. I feel our whole entire team wrestled tough. This might be the last year they allow multiple guys per weight to enter, because I know they want to restore it back to the old legacy of one per weight. But we happened to bring 26 wrestlers, so we brought multiple at a lot of weights, and we ended up bringing 23 of those 26 back to day two. And I don't know the exact number, but I want to say 20 of those 23 made the blood round. So what stood out to me is that just all my kids wrestled tough. Like, it didn't matter if, it's a guy that's never placed at a tournament. We actually even had our top heavyweight scorer is a kid that hasn't wrestled varsity all year. He was our third string guy. Our first string guy is injured. Our second string guy got really sick, like days before the tournament. So, I pretty much was like, hey, next man up, step up, and I I coach football too. And so in football, it's always that way, next guy up. And in wrestling, you don't always get that. It's hard with weight classes and stuff. You don't always have multiple guys per weight. So it was really cool for me that we brought a third string heavyweight and he was in the blood round and lost by a point. And so everybody scored points. Everybody wrestled hard. Nobody gave up.
When you look at looking ahead, like to Ivy League or the section, I mean, there's teams out there like Lakeside and Canyon Springs. I mean, do you kind of start gauging yourself, your team at least, like where you kind of stand with some of these other programs?
Yeah, that was definitely a thing that we actually talked to our team before the tournament, and we kind of told them this was going to be a mock like CIF for us. I mean, nothing's going to be like CIF. CIF is it's the championships. But some of those teams were hurt and everything. But I think coming away from it, we know we have the depth, which things happen. You might end up with a guy out right before league finals, and what we found out is we're very deep. So no matter what happens from now till CIF, we know we have 20 guys that could fill the 14 weight classes, no matter what, whether we have an injury or a guy sick or, whatever. So it was good for us to see how we can compete. We saw Canyon Springs there, Lakeside there. Those are probably two of the teams that we're going to compete with CF titles that are in our county. There's also going to be Victor Valley and Walnut in our division.
All right, so your individual champion at 132 pounds, Anthony Saldana, a transfer from Vista Murrieta. So that was his second consecutive county championship, correct? What makes Anthony a special grappler?
I would say for me, the answer that makes him special this year is, and he's already had success where he came from. So obviously he's well coached already. But I think we've worked on just getting him to be happy and be in a good mood. And I think that's what's making him special. And it was actually really funny when he won the title. We had talked to him about, making sure we walk off the mat correctly and stuff, and we don't toss the headgear, even if it's just like a celebratory one. And so he looked over at us and he faked us throwing the headgear at us. And then he gave us a little, no, because we had just talked to him about that. And I think that's big, is we've found a way to get him in a really good mood, make him really happy. I feel like we have a good environment in our program where we don't just talk about wins all the time. We're really concerned about the social emotional aspect of our program. We actually have, multiple coaches that do that, but we have a coach that's main goal is academic and mental well-being on our program. And so I think that's the key. I think he's already been doing well. He's wrestled his whole life. He won the county tournament, like he said, at another school already. So the on the mats there, we're hoping that the off the mat is going to continue to click as we head into the postseason.
Coach, I know you're a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm just curious, your wrestlers, let's say in years past, after they graduate from high school, do you have wrestlers that go into jiu-jitsu, or do you have any wrestlers that come into the program? Maybe they did jiu-jitsu growing up as a kid.
I would say it's actually that one. We get a lot of jiu-jitsu kids. We were already getting them, I would say within 3 or 4 years after I took over the program. But I think that's one thing people don't know. There's a lot of good jiu-jitsu in the city of Menifee and around Menifee. And so we get a lot of kids that do jujitsu. I can't even count the number of jujitsu schools that are either right by Paloma or near Paloma. And a lot of the kids do that, and it helps them. They might not know exactly how to wrestle, but they've grappled. They've, done one-on-one combat. They've done stuff. There's MMA gym, big one nearby that produces a lot of kids that end up coming over to Paloma and wrestling for us. So it is a big deal. I would say I don't think we get very many kids that try jiu-jitsu after high school. I've had a handful. Now that I do jiu-jitsu, it's kind of cool. I was at a jiu-jitsu school one time, and there was a kid. He actually didn't wrestle, but he's not a kid anymore. He was an adult, and I was training with him. And he's like, "Are you the Coach Robles from Paloma?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh man, you were a security guard at Paloma. Man, we always talked about you." And so anyway, so it's kind of cool running into some of the people. I have had a couple former wrestlers that I've ran into. Actually, the coolest one is I ran into a former wrestler of mine that I coached way back at Paris a long time ago, and he was competing against one of my jiu-jitsu teammates. And so it was pretty cool running into him after 15 years.
So the kids that do jiu-jitsu at the youth level, like coming into high school, do you feel like they have an advantage, or maybe they're a little bit ahead because they're used to that combat style?
Oh, definitely. It makes a big deal. The thing is, I don't think there's one specific thing. There's a variety of them. Some of them, they're very good in the top position because they have great hits. Some of them have great throws, so they can come in throwing and scoring takedowns already because they have a judo background. Some of them just the competition. Some of them just know how to win already because they've been competing in jiu-jitsu. That matters, right? These kids know how to make weight. They compete, all that. So it's a variety of factors, but it definitely helps. I would say the biggest one is the competition factor. A lot of our kids have competed before, so wrestling's not the first competition they do.
That makes sense. All right. Coach, let me go back to your team this season in Ivy League action. Is North in the Ivy League?
So there was a little bit of changes in the Ivy League dual meet format. So a couple teams went down and some teams went up. Or actually, boys, it was only one. So it was North. North came up, Hemet went down to the Sun Belt. So now North is with us.
I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but when you look at North and you guys in Lakeside and Canyon Springs, is there a tougher league for boys wrestling in the area?
I would say there's some other leagues that are really good. Southwest, Big 8, are two that come to mind. In my opinion, we're deep in duels. And the other team, the one I know you didn't mean to, the other team is Hillcrest. And they were young last year, but after day one, they were in the team race, which shows how deep they are. They didn't have the individual firepower, but they're deep. So there's no easy duels. Even if we end up potentially beating one by a lot of points, it's not going to be easy. And I say potentially because nothing's a shoo-in. Last year with Canyon Springs and Lakeside, we won both duels, I think, by 2 and 3 points. So a total of 5 points combined. And they beat each other, I think, by 1 or 2 points. So you're not even talking a whole match. You're talking one move difference, and any of the other two could have won the league. And fortunately, we came out on top of that.
So when you coach and you're in the wrestling room or getting ready for a big meet, do you stress to these guys, man, we got to have attention to details because you're like you said, it could be one move, to get you a couple points in that match, and that could be the difference, right? In winning a team duel.
Yeah, I mean, we do. I'll be honest, we've been trying to take this approach this year where we actually don't talk about winning. We're kind of hitting that method of we're trying to be good people, and good people do good things, and a lot of those good things result in winning results. And so we've been trying to. Sometimes the coaches, we got to catch ourselves because we still have to. We have to wrestle a match, we have to wrestle a tournament, we have to try and win events. But we've been trying really hard on not worrying about that because in the end results, you can't control everything in a result, right? You might have a guy that gets hurt, and that could have been the guy, the difference. That actually happened to us a couple years ago where we had a guy get really sick, and he was the amount of points that would have been a CF title. We didn't get it. So we talk a lot about how there's things that we can't control, and those lead to results. We can control what we can control, and a lot of times that's not going to necessarily be a victory or anything like that. So we've been trying to take that approach a lot more. We always have, but this year we've just talked about just be good, work hard, be tough, And, that was kind of every kid that went out on the mat that I happened to be in the corner for this weekend. I just said, physical and fundamentals. That's it. Like, go have fun, score points. So
have fun, smile, be good, and good things will happen, right?
Yep.
Well, Coach Robles, congratulations on the Riverside County Championship. Best of luck the rest of the way, and hopefully we can do this again soon. We'll be talking about some league titles, CIF titles, going to state, all that good stuff at the end of the year.
Yeah, man. Appreciate your time.
You got it. That's Luis Robles from Paloma Valley Wrestling here on the Inland Sports Show. Inland Sports. Always enjoy catching up with Coach Robles, talking a little wrestling here. One of the best to do it here in the IE. Great program at Paloma Valley once again. And they'll have some stiff competition in Ivy League, man. The Ivy League is tough with some great programs as well. So it'll be a lot of fun as we get into the league season. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we're going to talk a little high school basketball and our interview with Arlington boys soccer coach Kevin Watson. That is coming up here on the Inland Sports Show right after this.
The Inland Sports Show is brought to you by Ken Sporting Goods in Norco, #1 in the Inland Empire for team uniforms, sports equipment, and letterman's jackets. Bass Athletics in Corona. Driven by passion and hard work, Bass Athletics helps student athletes push their limits, compete with heart, and build the discipline to succeed in sports, school, and life. For more information on the Bass Private School, visit bassathletics.com. Paulson Orthodontics in Redlands with Dr. Marcus Paulson. Personalized treatment you deserve from an orthodontist that you can trust. And Chick-fil-A in Yucaipa, right off the 10 freeway at Yucaipa Boulevard. Eat more chicken.
A kid that he literally needed belief. He wasn't someone that was maybe as talented as people thought his brother was. He wasn't getting the same shine and the same attention, and he just needed the right place to bring it out. Everyone has different aspects that they need to work on, right? For some kids, they need to get bigger. For some kids, they need to get their academics up. For some kids, it's just overall maturity. But whatever it is, we're going to bridge that gap. We're going to get those gaps sewn up now so we can get you ready for when the opportunity does come, you're ready to meet the moment. And that's what development should be. I love to work with a kid who a lot of people don't see it right away. Maybe he just needs a little bit of work. Maybe he needs a little bit of belief. Once you put him in the right setting, put him under a barbell, you put him in the right classroom, and they shine, and that's what development is all about. It's not about where these kids are right now. It's about where they're going and how you as a coach can help them get there. I love doing that. It's the best part of my job.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Inland Sports Show. We're going to talk a little high school basketball real quick, and then get into our interview with Arlington boys soccer coach Kevin Watson. League play tipping off for a lot of leagues as we go into the new year. In the River Valley League, tipping off this week. In fact, tonight, Wednesday night, but a huge game coming up on Friday in River Valley League boys basketball. It's a good one. Norta Vista had a huge season last year, getting to the CIF semifinals. They had a great team last year, trying to do it all over again against a Ram High team. Had a real Cinderella year, getting to a CIF championship game. And their record is pretty good so far this year as well. So Ramona at home against Norta Vista on Friday night in River Valley League boys basketball. That's our Kin Sporting Goods must-see game. You can't crown a league champion on January 9th, but this is a big game as they go head-to-head. This could have big implications, at least, in terms of that league championship race between the two number one contenders in Novi and Ram High. It's our Kin Sporting Goods must-see game. So River Valley League tipping off this week for hoops, and also Citrus Belt League. They actually tipped off last night. Good one between Cajon and Yucaipa, and it went down to the wire. It was back and forth. I mean, every single quarter was decided by 1 or 2 points, and it was Cajon winning on the road at Yucaipa, 62-58 the final score, as the Cowboys pick up a huge win against the defending CBL champions, and on the road, so that was big time. We'll have more highlights of this game this week on Sports Weekly on IEMG. We'll also have highlights of Cajon and Yucaipa girls soccer, as the Yucaipa girls soccer team notched a 5-0 victory against the Cowgirls. So we'll have highlights of that one as well on Sports Weekly on IEMG. And if you don't get that TV channel in the city of San Bernardino, that is the IE Media Group YouTube channel. So check that out. Bonus highlights from this one. All right now we want to talk more soccer with Arlington boys soccer coach Kevin Watson. Man, the Lions have been on a run. I mean, go back to 2019, Division II CIF champions. They've been in the Open Division playoffs the last 2 years. They went to the finals in 2024 on that winning streak when they ran into a good Mater Dei team. But the standard is the standard with Arlington, as you're about to hear from head coach Kevin Watson. They had some young guys get considerable playing time last year that is benefiting this season, but they're still pretty young across the board. But they got some really good seniors as well to mix in with this squad. So here is Arlington boys soccer coach Kevin Watson on the Inland Sports Show. Inland Sports. And now join us here on the Inland Sports Show. The head coach of the Arlington boys soccer team is back. It is Kevin Watson, and the Lions roaring again this season. Coach, I mean, you look at the last couple of years, the standard's been set. I know you guys have a Division II CIF championship under your belt a couple of years ago, but the last couple of years, being in that top division for playoffs, being in the Open Division, getting to the finals 2 seasons ago, I mean, the standard is the standard, right? I mean, how do you approach each season now knowing that you guys are one of the top teams, regardless of you're talking about the league, the section, the state, wherever?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny you say the standard is something that we kind of preach, day in, day out. The first minute they're on this campus, come, early August. And what we do is we really preach and educate especially our younger players that are new, that you're going to get everybody's best game. The bullseye is as big as it can get. But we enjoy that. And I think we take pride in that because, our culture is one that, breeds, just competition and creating men. And, we're honored to continue to have success. But as you know, it's just the players, right? We have an amazing group of players. And I always, I preach to everybody, how fortunate I am to be at Arlington, because the type of kids we get are blue collar, gritty, and the most important thing is they love to play. They love to play football, man. They love soccer, man. So it's a blessing to be a part of that journey for them.
Okay, so rewind back to last year. We had a chance to talk a little bit. We did that video with Ray Bass at Bass Athletics. We were talking about, this team, and that, again, coming off the heels of that season where you guys had that undefeated streak, went to the Open Division Finals, and you're like, hey, coming out of that, you had a lot of young players. You're like, hey, these young guys are going to have to step up and step into these bigger roles last season. How many of those guys are still in the program this year? And how much value did you guys were able to create having just experience? Like having, I know you have a lot of young guys again, but just experience from last year that's going to carry over now into this season.
Yeah, it's funny. So I tell people last year will be it'll be the class, arguably probably one of the most successful seasons we've ever had that no one will ever talk about. Because on that group, you basically had about 8 brand new starters playing varsity, and what they're able to do and clinch a spot into, being the only, there's only 3 teams that clinched the Open Division for 2 years in a row since its first inception. And that group was tremendous, and they were led by some, like you had mentioned, some very young talent. We had about 4 freshmen that played big minutes last year. This year, on any given night, we can start up to 6 sophomores. We have another great class of freshmen. We have 5 that are involved heavily in the current varsity roster. So, and that's not a knock on the seniors. We have about 9 of them, but I will definitely say that the youth is brewing again, and it's been an interesting. I call them the cardiac kids. My sophomore class have been here, but they make it interesting. They're just still young. I have to remind myself when I'm talking to, just some of our mentors and, my son and my wife. And it's just like, these kids they're 15 years old, right? And they're competing versus 18, 17. And so I have to remind myself that sometimes, because my competitive nature wants to, say more. I'm like, you know what? It's a process. And, yes, it's one that I've been very fortunate. They got some big minutes last year, and this year they're taking a much bigger role.
Coach, another thing that we've talked about before is, a lot of teams, they will play a bunch of matches, a bunch of games. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're coming from a place where it's not about the amount of matches you have, but maybe the quality of matches. Because your season opener was pretty late, compared to other teams in the area. But the teams that you did play in non-league action were like some of the best in the entire southern section. So when you build your non-league schedule, what's on your mind when you create it, and how much value do you put in training and practice as opposed to just playing games for the sake of playing games?
Yeah, it's weird. This was our first year because we're dealing with the club schedule, which has showcase events all the way up to December now. So we, like you noted, we just started December 15th, I think it was, and most teams were 7-8 games in. We probably look at it now as a mistake. We added the Cal High tournament late in because we wanted to give our kids we talk about 3 areas where we want to compete is, winning a tournament, winning our league play, and then winning CIF championship. So they had no tournament in it beyond the modern day events. So we put that in, and that definitely made our schedule congested. But to your point, we do our tryouts and right after middle school graduation in May. We know our rosters in June, and then day one when we step foot on campus in August, we start training. So, I tell people like we're 10, 12, 13 weeks in when, some programs are just starting tryouts. So that's the benefit. And we have all 3 teams. We have 75 kids in our class that are participating and working together. So to your point, I think, what kind of makes us a little bit different beyond just us being successful, that's going to come and go based on kids, but there's some continuity and there's a true, I would say a family between the 3 teams. And I know every player. I know every player. I've been involved. And that's from the Frosh all the way to the seniors. And this year what we decided to do is we wanted to step into we kind of took a page from Harvard Westlake and what they did last year. And Coach E-Rush, his whole preseason was all the top open teams. I don't know if he intended, his intention there, but we'd like to play the Trinity League. But we want to play matchups that we say, will this, be the standard, and will this be good against the Valley Views, the Paulies, and, good teams in our conference that we've had matchups in the last year. And so we're very fortunate to do the modern day event, and Harvard Westlake's put us on their schedule. And our intention and goal is that we want more of those games. We want to represent the IE and primarily Riverside and show them that there's a lot of good teams in the IE right now, like a lot. some very, very talented players across the board. And, we just want to be a small, caption of that and representing that when we play these other teams from, big, big conferences.
You talk about good teams and good players. I mean, you got some on yours as well. I know Hugo Gomez, is having a great season. But do a little name dropping. Who are some of the guys that have stepped up early on this year?
Yeah, Hugo's probably mad at me. I've been so tough on him my seniors just because of his pedigree and, how good he can be. Angel Santoyo is another. Both of those guys were with us since freshmen, so they were there involved in 2019, 2024 when we went to the Open Division final. So they understand the DNA. Angel's hurt at the moment, unfortunately, so we don't know his return date. So that's a big loss for us. But he's turned into a great coach on the touchline. We have a sophomore who's really started to rise in Aldo Rodriguez. He's got 4 goals and 3 assists, and he's tied with our other senior forward, Andrew Mangiuano. And beyond that, we have a returning defender in Diego Cruz, who's an all Ivy League sophomore defender. And then another plethora of defenders between Jaime Torres, another sophomore returning, and then a sophomore goalkeeper in Anthony Rojas. Those are our steady players in those positions as regards to players that were playing as freshmen last year.
Coach, what is it, twofold, on this question, but what has impressed you about your team so far this year? But also, what's an area that you're like, hey, if we want to, challenge for an Open Division championship or D1 or wherever you guys end up, we need to clean up these areas. We need to be better here.
Yeah, I've been impressed. I mean, I think right now, again, we're so young. I look across the board, and we're getting some great contributions from young guys in the 9th grade class and the 10th grade class consistently. So I'm impressed with just their ability to, deal with the pressure that comes with playing older kids and deal with the pressure of, playing on, a varsity group that comes with a lot of, I would say, targets that they have to, get used to and playing against on a consistent basis. But the boys will know, and they can listen to this, but I've been very, adamant that until we get, superior leadership from our senior class and them start to kind of embrace the, living in the moment and kind of tomorrow's never promised attitude, that's really what we're going to need. And we're looking for someone to fill Angel Santoyo's shoes, who's going to be out for a little bit. Our hope is he comes back for playoffs. So my job as a coach is to squeeze every ounce out of our senior class, and we've kind of been having some surprise guys that haven't got many minutes. And George Soriano and Johan Rodriguez are 2 that stand out, and these are guys that barely saw minutes early on, but now they're taking bigger roles. So if we can continue on that, and you talk about a standard, set the standard, and embrace their roles and lead our sophomores and our freshmen and some of our small class of juniors, I think we can again be a hopefully a team that makes some waves come playoffs time.
I know you guys already have one league victory under your belt. Is that correct? In Ivy League, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then it looks like Orange Vista and Poly later this week, and then here we go, Ivy League action, and then right into the playoffs. Like you said, you kind of chunk out different things. You want to win a tournament title, you want to win a league championship, you want to win a CIF title. Ivy League's always tough, so what do you feel like you guys have to do well the next couple of weeks to accomplish that next step, right, and get a league championship?
You got to make home a fortress. I always tell them, our home has got to be our fortress. It's got to be a place that we, embrace. And, when people come here, they got to say, man, I hate playing at Arlington. That's just kind of what we've been preaching. And I think Ivy League is known for what I call those banana peel games. You go in and you underestimate Orange Vista, and that is a game that can decide your league championship. So I think collectively we are more than prepared and treating every opponent just as if it's a matchup versus a Mater Dei or someone similar. We're basically saying, look, this is a standard we're going to take, and we're going to treat every game like it's a final, because that's respect to the coaches and the players in the Ivy League and the IE. We know that at any day we can get beaten. We can get beat 100%, and so we're going to take that approach and make sure that we're prepared.
Coach Watson, I'm just curious, like when you play outside the area, definitely outside the Ivy League, but outside, let's say the IE, when you go play Mater Dei or some of these, like the Cal High tournament you were talking about, when people see Arlington roll up, the Arlington kits are out. Do you feel like, the team and the program has done well enough the last decade or so that, hey, people are like, dude, we're playing Arlington today. Like this, for them, it's going to be a measuring stick. Like, hey, we're going up against mighty Arlington. Let's see how good we are. Do you feel like when you go into these matches, like, these other teams, they're getting up for you guys? I mean, the cliches, target on your back, but people are getting up for and bringing their best game when they have to see you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a tough winter break. And to your point, like Santa Ana got up for us. They were prepared, and they're a tricky group. And then Mater Dei is just always the standard when it comes to hard work and what Gainey and his staff do for his boys. It's really commendable. And then in the Cal High tournament, we got Estancia's best game when they're undefeated. Probably lucky to get out of that one. And then I don't know if you heard it, in Downey, we're up 2-0 5 minutes ago and completely blow it. It's a long story. But Downey was giving us everything. And I think to what you're saying is like, they know our history and they know that, we've had some success. And with that, their level of play definitely rises. And it's just like you got to play 80 minutes every single game. And it's never like a drop off, which is can be challenging for young players. Because building that consistency is the difference between, being good and elite. And that's something we discuss. And I think, but it's always great for us. I personally like playing the best of the best. I like playing these teams outside of our region and the best teams. I think that's when your character is tested the most, and it's what represents what's the beauty of this game. So,
Coach, of course you'd like to go 25-0, right, and go to that CIF championship match. But for a younger team, I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to have some of these tight battles or lose a close one, right? I mean, do you feel like there's maybe a growing up process when you can go through some of those games if you can learn from those matches?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we learned last year. Like, I think I was shocked to get into the Open, to be honest. I thought that group would have was a D1 team, on paper, but so proud of what they did and, matching up with Jay Sarah and giving them a dogfight. They're the best team in the country, arguably. But yeah, I think for this group, like, it's just trying to see. It's probably the most challenging task I've had. Last year was the group that won't be talked about that was most successful, and I would say this year might be the most challenging one for me because I speak to some of my mentors and I explain to them that the difference between player 5 and player 20, there's not much big difference. Like, we're heavy up top in regards to talent, and then the next 20 players are all very similar. So it's not uncommon for me to see a different starting group of 5 or 6 guys. I'm thinking short-term and long-term. So I've had to balance out a lot of personalities in reference to my younger guys that are used to seeing, every single minute on their club games, and just a lot of side dialogues and side conversations with players and just trying to educate them about like the long term. And so it's been a challenge, but I think to your point, I think it's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for us. I got to keep my calms and my nerves because I'm so freaking competitive. And so it's like, I got to do the same. I got to take my own advice. How about that?
That is some good advice right there. You just have to listen to it. That is Coach Kevin Watson from the Arlington boys soccer team here on the Inland Sports Show. Coach, thank you so much. Best of luck the rest of the way. And hopefully we can do this again down the road when we're talking about championships. Absolutely, Pat, man. Happy New Year, and great to see you as always. Yes, sir. That's Kevin Watson from the Arlington Lions here on the Inland Sports Show. Inland Sports. All right, the one and only Kevin Watson at Arlington. In fact, I think they're playing Orange Vista tonight in Ivy League play. All right, we're going to take another quick break here on the Inland Sports Show. When we come back, we'll talk high school football with the brand new head coach at Murrieta Mesa, although he's very familiar with the program. It is Johnathan Coutee next here on the Inland Sports Show right after this.
The Inland Sports Show is brought to you by Ken Sporting Goods in Norco, #1 in the Inland Empire for team uniforms, sports equipment, and letterman's jackets. Bass Athletics in Corona, driven by passion and hard work, Bass Athletics helps student athletes push their limits, compete with heart, and build the discipline to succeed in sports, school, and life. For more information on the Bass Private School, visit bassathletics.com. Paulson Orthodontics in Redlands with Dr. Marcus Paulson. personalized treatment you deserve from an orthodontist that you can trust. And Chick-fil-A in Yucaipa, right off the 10 freeway at Yucaipa Boulevard. Eat more chicken.
Academics are always going to take you further. I don't think you can go into any of these organizations that are trying to help you goal in terms of going to high school and being a starter, or going to college, being a collegiate athlete, without having academics first. And if you don't have that, if you're focused on surely your talent, then you're blowing a whole opportunity, a whole side of this whole development thing. You're missing the point. If you're not prioritizing that first, then you're basically prioritizing being a 5-star. And there ain't that many 5-stars out there. That's just the way it is. So if you want to become a high achieving student athlete, if you want the best possibility to play in college, you need to start with academics. That's just it.
On the Inland Sports Show, the new head coach of the Murrieta Mesa Rams, Johnathan Coutee. And Coach, congrats on the new gig at Murrieta Mesa. I know you've been at Mesa, but to take over the head coaching duties, that's a whole nother ball game. So congrats on the gig, and what gets you excited about taking over the program?
You know, the same thing that's motivated me to stay in coaching so long, just the kids. We got a great group of kids. They're just a pleasure on and off the field. You know, so I'm really looking forward to the challenge and going through it with these guys that we have already. I couldn't see myself leaving them, so I had to apply.
Now, how many years have you been at Mesa already?
So I've been at Mesa for 11 years. I came in as the offensive coordinator, and then when there was, I think 2019, we had some issues, and I went to Chaparral for 2 years, and then I came right back when Coach McBride came in. So I've been on campus coaching softball for 11 years, but I've been in the football program for 9 years, but always involved in these kids' lives.
You know, Coach, you can tell me your story, but I've interviewed other coaches, and they say, you know, I wasn't necessarily looking for a head coaching job, but the right one popped up at the right time. I feel like the Mesa job is that job for you, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, so that's the story. When I was helping our athletic director talk about who might be our next guy, because I'm the guy who recommended he go out and get Oscar when he got Coach McBride. And we sat down, and I finally said to him, man, I can't really help you in good faith with this process anymore because I've decided to apply. And it was just all, so he looked at me crazy. He goes, what? You never told me you wanted to be a head coach. And I go, I really didn't. This, you know, I just finished up year 33, and it's, you know, it's crossed my mind, but I've never said I was going to apply, but it seemed like it was the right time, you know, and I'm a man of faith, and I felt like that God does things in seasons, and I feel like this is my season to finally lead from a different role.
Do you find there's similarities between you and Coach McBride, and just the kind of the men you are, the kind of coaches you are, or more, maybe there's more differences? I don't know.
No, I just find it funny because there are so many differences. You know, he's a lot that I'm not, and I'm a lot that he isn't. And then in between, you have my twin brother, right? Like, I've learned from him. He's, you know, Notre Dame product, played for Lou Holtz. I learned most of my things as a young man in the streets. What my whole story, how I got into coaching, was completely different than his, right? But our passion for the game and our love for the kids and doing things the right way and doing things intentionally is exactly the same. So we meet just right at the perfect time, right there in the middle, and have been on the same mission. And I want to be the same way going forward for my staff. You can't be with somebody who's exactly like you because you'll kill each other, right? So it was a great thing for me, though, man.
Well, Coach, now I'm curious, how did you get into coaching, whether it was football or softball, maybe football specifically here?
I was 19 years old, and I wasn't going to play anymore. And my high school head coach saw me with the wrong people at the wrong place and pretty much grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and said, "You're coming to practice tomorrow." And I was literally dragged into coaching. And I never left. It completely changed my direction in life, my purpose, and, you know, my passion and awareness. And I've completely, since I was 19 years old, and sometimes to a detriment, you know, in raising my own kids and whatnot, has been all about football. And, you know, whatever job I took, how I ended up here on campus or other places, was whether it could fit my schedule to coach football or not. So, yeah, it's a pretty long, detailed story, but let's just say I owe this game and these kids my services.
Yeah, man, it sounds like you live in a football world. You know, it's always been about football. And, you know, going
Always.
back to your high school coach, you know, the fact that he was able to, you know, see something in you, right? You know, and give you that guidance and say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you some tough love right here. This is what you're going to do because I'm going to make sure, you know, you're in a successful path.
Yeah.
I mean, do you still apply that now to the guys that you coach, you know?
You know what? I try to in everything I do. If you like, I love football, but the one thing that people will guaranteed tell you I love more than football is the players. And not even just the players on campus. It's the students. You know, you just look at them and you see all this potential, and whether they know that the world is in the palm of their hands or not, you're going to treat them as such and try to get them to see it so they walk in their purpose and live up to their fullest potential. And I wake up every day like that. People say stuff, and, you know, I don't have any notable accomplishments. I've been a decent OC in my opinion, and I've been a very loyal and good assistant coach, which is what you should be on the way up, right? But if it wasn't for the kids, there's no way I'd still be involved. I could be at home on the couch right now, relaxing and enjoying the rest of my vacation, but I would give up every day, every second of my time for these kids if I thought it would advance them. And that purpose is never going to change, whether it's softball, football, or anything. So,
well, I know you're in it for the right reasons, Coach, because, I mean, I know coaches aren't getting rich out there on those big stipends that you guys get.
No,
so.
I've probably lost a couple $1 million over the year. I could have had a real job and getting after it, but, you know, there's no better reward when you get a message from somebody who played for me. When I was getting congratulations on getting the job, you know, you take it with a grain of salt and all that, but the messages that came from guys I coached 20 years ago, or people just saying stuff that's grown man whose kids playing for me saying that's my coach, like that stuff moves me to tears. So like it's been an insane ride, brother.
Well, I mean, the last couple of years, you know, Murrieta Mesa, a CIF championship, you know, some league titles along the way as well. I mean, the program is in a great spot, but, you know, congrats on your first head coaching gig. Now you get to play Centennial and Murrieta Valley and Norco. I mean, like, I don't know if you're a glutton for punishment, but man, I know you guys are moving up in the Big West. That's tough.
The guy who's waited forever to get his first head coaching job, who knows the game, right? Steps into this. Yeah. And honestly, that's part of it too. I want to go through this fire with these kids and grow them. It's like starting over, right? The program, the level it was at was great, but there's levels to it, right? We're moving up with the big boys. So we got to get strong and improve. As of this second right now, we're not ready, but we're going to prepare and give it everything we have. And I'm going to measure success based on how much better we get and just worry about ourselves. I'm not going to focus on Centennial or Chaparral where my friends are at, or MV, any of those schools. We're going to take care of Murrieta Mesa, and we're going to compete.
Coach, when you look back at 2024 and the championship season, was there anything about that team or that season that kind of stuck out to you that you're like, hey, this is what a championship team is going to look like. This is what we need to do.
So this is not to take you off track, to be completely honest about the 2024 season. From O-line is what I was coaching. It was a good O-line year for us. But my son, a few days after our semifinal game, my oldest boy committed suicide. So some of it is kind of a blur for me.
Sure.
But it wasn't tough for me to go into the finals with those kids because I knew that's exactly what he would say, because he was the most determined person I ever met. Our focus on the team, for the team, was just really, really good that year. Those kids were very resilient. It wasn't that the talent level had taken off. Now, our defensive line, yeah, they were probably better than they've been since Keon Barrs left here. But that team played special as a unit, and they just didn't back down from guys. So when we were behind or in bad positions, they just found a way to get it done. So you know how it is. When you're resilient, man, anything can happen. So I don't think anybody had us favored to win that game. Yeah, and then, like you said, moving forward, the difference in bumping from D6 to D3, we had a first-round exit for the first time in a long time because there's just levels to it, and we just were not strong enough to play with Bishop Amat. And, you know, they know what it is. I've seen – you remember some Bishop Amat teams that were insane, right? So they're coming down a little bit. We're going up. But they were still much stronger than us, and that was the biggest difference in that game. So everything for us is going to have to be in the weight room.
Coach, you know, I don't want to pry into your personal life because I saw, you know, what you had
Not a problem, brother.
You know, I saw what you'd mentioned on social media when it happened, and I think it was was it right before the playoffs or somewhere right around then? Semifinals. Okay, so
yeah, we're making a run.
I mean, how much did you need football? You know, just to have that camaraderie, a distraction. You know, just to feel the the embrace from your team and Coach McBride and all them.
I can tell you that one of the reasons of staying at Mesa for so long was I need them as much as they seem to need me. This place is so different. And, you know, there's plenty of places that are loaded with talent in this area. You know, they got 4 stars, 5 stars, plenty of D1 guys. And to be completely honest, we don't have that yet. But the family situation here on campus, the camaraderie in this community is just unmatched. It really is. So, yeah, I came back to work fairly early after it happened, you know, and people were going, why are you here? And I'm like, I need my family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was. And walking back into, like, I didn't miss a practice after my son passed. And walking back into there was very easy. And saying to the boys, like, you're my family. I need you as much as you need me. But you know what? The mission hasn't changed. We got to lock in. We have something to take care of. And if my boy was able to speak down to us right now and tell us what happened, he'd say, get your behinds ready and go win. So that was our focus. And the kids were so supportive, and they put the little stickers on there. They got me a big wooden American flag with all the symbols from his alma mater and his jiu-jitsu stuff. And it was, I mean, and that's the kind of community this is. And I think I said something like that in a post. Some people talk about things like that, right? And some people show it through actions.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest difference. So when we approach the game here, or, I mean, just anything we do, it's going to be in love. It's going to, I mean, we talk about trust, love, and commitment. And I know you heard that from Oscar, and that will never change. Like, for me, that stuff is, I may as well get it tattooed across my chest because that means something. We're not just going to talk about things. And like I said, I think you give us some time, you're going to see it in the finished product. But whatever we do, we're going to do it the right way. I promise you that.
Well, Coach, here we are in the month of January, and it feels like the next football season is, way off in the distance. But what are some things that you're doing right now to get your team ready? I know if you're probably a big weight room guy, but like, what are some things that you can do right now to feel like you at least getting better before that first game?
So where I'm at right now, the kids were on vacation, and in my opinion, we hired a little bit late because you know how the high school season is. You come back from Christmas vacation and find out guys aren't even on your campus anymore. That's the world we live in. So I'm still trying to solidify the rest of the staff. They just announced it last week, so I'm going to clear up some things with the staff and get everybody going and make sure we're all on one accord and create clearly defined roles and what I want them to do. But the first thing we're going to do is have a meeting the day we come back to school and tell them what's going on in the program, what the expectations are, and how much hasn't changed, right? We're just going to build upon what we already have, So, for me, my focus right now is nothing but commitment. You're here, you're locked in, and you're going to work your behind off. And if it gets too hard for you, you just got to get better at handling hard.
Yeah, it's certainly a different age, right? You know, when guys are transferring, you don't know who's going to be on campus or not on campus, and it seems like kids are announcing free agency on social media.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely. And I refer to it as the high school transfer portal opens, you know, right when we go. And it's sad.
Yeah.
And then in other instances, I get it. There are some coaches that do a fabulous job in this area alone. Like, I'll tell you right now, Coach Raymer gets kids out, and I will never deny that. People say they do a great job of getting kids out. Yeah. That's fine. So the onus is on us, the way I always see it, isn't to worry about where your players go so much as to why did you lose them? Why aren't you keeping them? Why do they not want to be at your school? So creating that atmosphere and giving them a platform to get better and do better is always going to lead to having those kids. And, you know, there's always some great coaches who just get poached or whatever happens too. But we're always just going to be responsible for us here at Murrieta Mesa. We're not going to worry about what goes on around us. We're going to do our work. Who shows up is going to work, and who doesn't want to be here, they're not the kind of player we're going to want in the long run anyway.
All right, and finally, Coach Coutee, I mean, how would you describe your brand of football, like X's and O's wise? What do do you like to score a lot? Are you old school, run the football?
Man,
defense?
I tell you, when I got to Mesa back in 2015, I had never ever thrown the ball like I did once I came into the old Southwestern League. And you know why? Their front four out here showed me why I wasn't going to run the ball. So all of a sudden, I'm instead of 21 personnel, pounded, smash mouth football, which is my brand, right? You just have to adapt and, you know, be willing to run what's going to work for the personnel you have. Now, if you've watched us the last 2 years, including the championship season, and I take huge pride in this because I'm an offensive line guy and I want to run the ball, and I was the offensive line coach here. We went to the state regional and played 15 games and only threw 15 passing touchdowns. And I don't care if you talk about D6 or whatever. You're doing a pretty darn good job running the football. And it was the same thing last year that got us a league title again versus King versus Great Oak. And you look at these are some pretty talented teams, right? If you look at our rushing numbers, you'd be pretty impressed with that. We did a pretty good job against some loaded boxes of still getting it done. But I'm not a fool. I understand that there has to be plenty of things to adapt to, and I'm not a micromanager, so you know I will have influence, but I'm gonna trust my coordinators and let them get it done. But if you think I personally believe we can just get up against a Centennial and run inside zone for 200 yards all game, yeah, I'm not sure that's gonna happen. So we're gonna have to figure some stuff out. But sooner or later, when you get strong enough, you change, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna build up to it.
Hence the weight room, right? Live in the weight room.
Yes, sir. It all goes back to that for me. I'll tell a kid in a minute, man, you're not 6'6", right? But at 5'10", if you can bench press 300 pounds and that 6'6" kid on the other side with 5 stars bench presses 300 pounds, well, the low man wins. It's always leverage. And you know high school kids like I do, they hate bending their hips. You're already low, son. You should win, right? So there's some advantages in not being giant. And I think De La Salle over the years has really been a great model of that. Other than Larry Allen's kid, I couldn't name you a bunch of big linemen that came out of there. They ran the hell out of that veer and found ways to get it done.
They sure did.
And we're definitely not a veer team. It's just, for me, I've got to find stuff to really make these kids believe that that's how it's going to be done, because it's going to get difficult in that weight room for them. And they're going to get pushed to the point where they want to quit. And their parents want to call me and say, well, you know, he said he was dying in there. And I was like, but somehow he came home and wanted dinner, right?
Yeah.
So there we go.
Well, Coach, listen, congratulations on the gig, and very excited for you and what is in store for Murrieta Mesa. I know it'll be tough in the Big West Upper, but, man, it sounds like you guys are ready for that challenge, though.
Hey, we're just going to take it on one day at a time, brother, and do the work to be there.
Well, God bless you, Coach Coutee, and congrats on the gig. That is Johnathan Coutee, the new head coach of the Murrieta Mesa Rams, here on the Inland Sports Show.
Thank you. Go Rams.
Inland Sports.
Man, Murrieta Mesa really struck gold with coaches. Oscar McBride, great coach, a great man, and they get Johnathan Coutee to take over. Two great guys, and the Rams will be in good hands. The schedule will be tough, there's no doubt about it. But man, he's the right guy for the job, so congrats to Coach Coutee on his first head coaching gig. Now, the offseason is always busy for high school head coaching jobs. Another one at Notre Dame High School, and this was a big one. Derek Johnson, the former head coach at Notre Dame, is going back to the Titans. He was there for 4 seasons. He got them to the playoffs 3 different times, including 2015 when Notre Dame won the CIF Southern Section Northwest Division Championship. In fact, they had to beat their league rival, Linfield Christian, again. You're looking at some video when they beat Linfield at RCC in league play, and then this was the championship game down in Temecula. That was actually at Temecula Valley High School when they beat Linfield for the Northwest Division Championship. So he led them to a CIF title. He played at Notre Dame. He went back to Notre Dame to coach and had that success there about 10 years ago. And now he's going back to Notre Dame to try to help this program out. In fact, after COVID, when you look at those 5 seasons after COVID, in 5 years, 5 seasons, Notre Dame has only won 3 games. So Derek Johnson going back to his alma mater for a second time, trying to get Notre Dame going in the right direction. I texted with Coach a little bit. He said once he has his coaching staff in place, and he's getting real close to that. He's really excited about his coaching staff. He will definitely do a show. So we might even have Coach Johnson on the Inland Sports Show as early as next week. But congratulations to Coach Johnson going back to Notre Dame. All right, big thanks to all of our guests, Coach Coutee, Coach Watson, Coach Robles as well. We're going to end the show with a quick little snippet, a little sample from my segment on KCAL 96.7 FM. I'm on the radio dial every Monday and Thursday morning with Patrick in the morning on KCAL 96.7 FM. I'm a 49ers fan. He loves his Seahawks, but we still get along after the Seahawks really gave it to the 49ers in that regular season finale. But we're going to end the Inland Sports Show with a segment from KCAL. So God bless you guys. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you next week on your favorite show, the Inland Sports Show. We'll see you next time.
Inland Sports. Oregon. Eventually, Oregon has to win one of these big games. They keep knocking on the door. I want Oregon to win, which is unusual for me to say.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack there. You are right on everything you just said. So Fernando Mendoza, the QB for Indiana, will probably be the number 1 pick, which the Raiders have. The Raiders will have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, so that might be the Raiders' future. So if you're a Raiders fan, keep an eye on Mendoza and Indiana. But Indiana already beat Oregon this year in Eugene. They beat Ohio State. Then they hammered Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Patrick, I was kind of like you. I was kind of on the fence about Indiana. I'm not on the fence anymore. I'm like, Indiana is legit. Can they beat Oregon again? I don't know, man. It's tough to beat the same team twice in 1 year. But Indiana has convinced me that they are the number 1 seed. I mean, they are the best team in the playoffs right now.
I think I just still have some Pac-12 pride.
I think you do, the old Pac-12. And what's interesting here, we got 2 Big Ten teams. We got SEC, we got the ACC. But think about it. When we started this journey, when we started the college football season, these were the top teams. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Clemson. There's no Alabama in the playoffs now. There's no Georgia in the playoffs now. It's kind of been a wacky season having these 4 teams as the Final Four. A lot of these big brands, these heavyweights, could not survive the college football playoffs or even get in to the playoffs. So the Chargers now, they're going to be in the playoffs on the road at New England in the first round, which New England was very close to being the number 1 seed in the AFC. That's a very tough draw for the Lightning Bolts.
Absolutely. Should be super tough in Chinatown, right? We'll have to see what happens in Beantown. I mean, yes, Drake May. There was a joke that he was called Drake Maybe, right? Like he wasn't very good. But now it's Drake Maybe MVP.
Yeah, he could be, right? If it's not Matt Stafford, it might be Drake May. Of all the teams to have success this year, I think New England is the one that surprises me the most. But again, the blueprint is out there in the NFL. If you have a great quarterback and a great head coach, Andy Reid and Mahomes, Brady and Belichick. We've seen this before. That is the recipe, right? And New England feels like they've got it right now with Drake May and Mike Vrabel now taking over his first year at New England. And look where they are, man. They're one of the best teams in the league.
Inland Sports.